home game against St. Louis this week. I don't know, they are known to be a much more defensive team. I don't know, how do you go about breaking a team down like that probably is not going to want to get out of their shell?
Yeah, having played them already this year, it gives us a better picture of what the game might look like. They were defending a lead, and they were in a very low block, 5-4-1, and so it was really difficult for us to break them down. It was a very frustrating game, and so we need sharp, concise movements in the final third, through the middle, and also running in behind. We need to mix it up, but we also need speed ups, and that's what we've been doing last couple games. When we break lines, can we speed up the attack? Can we transition a little bit better? And so those will be key against St. Louis, a team that doesn't concede a whole lot, but also doesn't score a whole lot.
What have you seen from Osaze out here this last week?
Well, I think since preseason and bits of last year, he's always been a player that back presses extremely well. He's very powerful. He's very strong. He's really good in the air, and his finishing ability is really good. He has a lot of qualities that you just can't teach. And so if we can get the rawness out of him, he'll be a really good player moving forward. But he has a lot of potential, and he has a great attitude. And what's difficult as a striker is that sometimes the striker doesn't want to defend. And I feel like Osaze does a really good job of back pressing and winning balls on the midfielders, and he certainly makes our job a lot tougher.
Another player to talk about, a teammate, Stephen Fry, is coming up on 400 appearances for the Sounders. You've been here for a lot of those 400 games. What have you seen? What do you think has been key to his longevity, and what do you think he does well that maybe doesn't get widely appreciated?
Well, I think he's very steady. He's very conservative in the way he wants to goalkeep, right? He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, and when he does, he corrects them really fast. And so that's what you want out of a goalie. You want a goalie that's reliable, a goalie that will have these crazy games and not a whole lot of blemishes. So, credit to Steph for his longevity. I think he takes care of his body extremely well. His mobility is so good, and I think that's what makes him being able to be put in different positions when goalkeeping. And so Andrew obviously has shown really well, but Steph is a guy that he can learn from because he just does everything really well.
Speaking of milestones, Obed Vargas hit 100 games at his age. How impressive it is that he has 100 games at that age, and from the very beginning, what do you remember that maybe stood out from a player like Obed?
Well, I remember the first time he came around. I think he was around 16. I mean, his quads were just as big as mine, and you don't see that very often, right? His ability to create power with his first step, and his ability to drive is what separated him from most 16-year-olds when he got to the team. And so kudos to him for working really, really hard to work on the nuances of the midfield position, the body positioning, and the being clean on the ball, and his passing I think has improved quite a lot. But he's a player that deserves to be on the field. He makes our team different, and so I hope that he has he continues in this path and has a really good future ahead of him. But time will tell to see what Obed can do with his career. But it's a milestone for him to reach 100 at such an early age. I mean, I don't even think I had a appearance at that age, so kudos to him.
I mean, you have plenty of time left in your career, but is it kind of interesting to see players that maybe essentially at one point will kind of take that torch of everything that you've done for this club?
Yeah, it's all full circle, right? I mean, Ozzy came along, and then Gustav came along, and Jao came along, and I was either in the middle or out wide, and there was always talk about me going back into the midfield, and so Obed brings that, right? He brings that same mentality, the same attitude, the ability to cover so much ground for the team, and play the ball forward and get into the box and create attack. So it's all full circle, and it's great to see, and hopefully he picks up on any good habits I have, as I was able to pick on some good habits that all the guys before me had.
One more question about Steph. He's been here a really long time. What is it about? You've obviously been here for a lot of that time as well. What is it like off the field that he does that sort of keeps things? He seems to talk about staying positive and sort of kind of closing out a lot of the negativity. I'm just curious what that does from a leadership perspective, or what you've learned from him as a team leader.
Yeah, I think at times for him, he has his hobbies, right, with art and painting, and his house in itself. So to get away from the sport, and when you're struggling with tough games or not winning games, it's great to move away from soccer and think about something else. And so he does a really good job of, in a way, checking out, right? Off season, he does a really good job of, all right, soccer's done, I'm going to live my life, and now I'm going to come back and have that same appreciation and love that I have for the sport. And so that's something I've picked up on, obviously having a family and understanding that soccer, in a way, it doesn't always come first, and so having that new grown appreciation for the sport is crucial. But within the locker room, I think he's had to grow into a leadership role, right? I don't think Steph has been as vocal as he's ever been. He's vocal right now, and helping the team grow in many ways, and so it's great to see him kind of reestablish that leadership role at such an old age. So I'm happy for him, and hopefully he has a long time to be able to do that.
As close as you are to Jordan Morris, how difficult is it to just see him once again be bit by this injury bug?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think that he had been plagued with injury. He was plagued with the term injury prone, right? But to be honest, he's had a couple of hamstrings, but he had 2 devastating knee injuries that you can't predict, right? And so I think it's, for him, he was so happy because he had this really long spell of not getting injured, and he felt like he put that behind him, and now all of a sudden he re-injures the same injury, and it's tough for him because now he's like, all right, does he have a little bit of doubt in his mind? But Jordan's a trooper. Jordan has a great support system, and I know he's going to come back and be able to help the team and win a trophy this year. That's what we want. That's our goal, and I know that he's driven and motivated to come back stronger than ever. But obviously, we're all gutted for him because he makes our team so much more dynamic. He creates so much space for us in the pockets because of his speed.
Cristian, on the CONCACAF Champions Cup, have you been following it? How do you see the matchup? Obviously, it's 2 teams that the Sounders know very well, and maybe people now realize that the result against Cruz Azul was not as bad as people thought about at the time. So how do you see the game?
Yeah, I think Cruz Azul is a really good team. They came here and they left a few guys back and they competed, man. We feel like we were unfortunate to not win that game, but they took care of business at home in Mexico City. A tough place to play, and I know that the final's going to be there. But credit to Vancouver. They've essentially had the same roster construction as last year. They've got a great mentality, a bit of a tactical switch, and they believe, right? And I think that's sometimes we talk about tactics so much. But if you have belief, man, you can win games. And so that's what finals are about, belief. You're on the road in Mexico City. you know, Vancouver can do it, but it's going to be tough, and I'm excited to watch. You know, credit to Vancouver because they're not only in the Champions League final, but they're doing well in the league, and so credit to them. They've kind of found their new identity, and kudos to them for you know, competing, right?